Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, Senior Correspondent for Englebrook Independent News, and this is your federal crime report highlighting significant criminal prosecutions and court proceedings from the United States District Court for the District of Columbia and the Superior Court of the District of Columbia during the weeks of July of 2026. Before we begin, Englebrook Independent News reminds our viewers that any charges filed in criminal complaints or indictments are merely accusations. Every defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in the court of law. Cases resulting in convictions or guilty pleas are identified as such throughout this report. Tonight's report includes major sentencing hearings involving child sexual abuse material offenses, homicide convictions, violent firearm crimes, narcotic trafficking, cyber fraud investigations, and organized criminal activity prosecuted by federal and local law authorities in the nation's capital. Let's begin. A Washington state man has been sentenced to federal prison after admitting to distributing child sexual abuse material online. 36-year-old James Davis of Joint Base Lewis McCord, Washington, received a sentence of 60 months in federal prison for pleading guilty after the earlier year of distributing of child pornography. According to federal prosecutors, investigators assigned to the Metropolitan Police Department and FBI Child Exploitation Task Force encountered Davis while working undercover on a website allegedly using exchanged child sexual abuse material. Authorities say Davis later continued communication throughout an encrypted messaging application where he was not only distributing illegal images but also claimed to have sexually abused a minor over several years and transmitted images depicting that abuse. Federal investigators executed search warrants at Davis' residence in April of 2025. According to court records, Davis attempted to destroy a cell phone containing evidence as agents entered the residence. Prosecutors say he later waived his Miranda rights and admitted to trading child sexual abuse material online. In addition to the 5-year prison sentence, Davis must serve 10 years of supervised release followed by incarceration. Federal prosecutors also secure another lengthy sentence involving child sexual abuse material. Christopher Murphy, 37 of Phoenix, Arizona, was sentenced to 100 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to distributing child sexual abuse material. Investigators say Murphy used encrypted messaging applications, including Signal and Telegram, to exchange illegal material involving extremely young children. According to the court filings, Murphy participated in an online group dedicated to sharing child sexual abuse material and also admitted to Zoom meetings where participants allegedly viewed and exchanged illegal content. Following his arrest, investigators discovered thousands of images and videos of Murphy's electronic devices. In addition to his prison sentence, Murphy must complete 10 years of supervised release and register as a sex offender. In Superior Court, a district jury convicted Wandell Jones Jr., 38, in connection with the July 2022 murder of Awanda Williams. Jurors found Johns guilty of first-degree murder while armed, possession of a firearm during a crime of violence, and 2 counts of unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. Evidence presented during the trial showed Jones entering Williams' apartment despite an active temporary protective order prohibiting contact with her. Prosecutors told jurors that 8 children were inside the apartment when an argument escalated into gunfire. Evidence showed Jones firing more than 20 rounds using 2 different firearms before fleeing an apartment and leaving the children behind. Authorities later arrested Jones in Florida approximately 6 weeks later before extraditing him back to Washington. Sentencing has been scheduled for October 30th of 2026. Nearly 3 decades after a double homicide shocking Washington, D.C., justice has finally been delivered. Oscar Diaz Romero, also known as Oscar Alonso Salagro, was sentenced to 24 years in prison for the August 1997 murder of Jose Roberto Milana and Jose Noel Peraza. According to prosecutors, both victims were fatally shot during an altercation inside the former Los Rocas restaurant in Northwest Washington. Following the shooting, Diaz Romero fled to El Salvador, where he remained for years before authorities arrested him in 2024. He was extradited to the United States in January of 2025, convicted earlier this year, and now is serving his prison sentence followed by nearly 3 decades as the international fugitive. Another significant sentence involves the June 2020 killing of Kevin Reed, a father of 4. Jamal Whiteley, 38, received a sentence of 22 years and 6 months in prison after juries convicted him on second-degree murder while armed and multiple firearm offenses. Evidence presented during the trial included surveillance footage from the Northwest Washington gas station showing Whitley interacting with Reed shortly before the fatal shooting. Prosecutors said Whitley later returned wearing a surgical mask before confronting the victim. Moments later, gunshots rang out in the nearby alley, killing Reed. Whitley has remained in custody since his arrest in August of 2021. Two Washington men were sentenced in a 2024 shooting near the Dunbar High School that endangered numerous students. Saki Frost and Zara Graves each received an effective prison sentence of 60 months after pleading guilty to an aggravated assault while armed, assault with a dangerous weapon, and carrying a pistol without a license. Investigators recovered 29 shell casings from the scene. Gunfire struck both the exterior and interior of the Dunbar High School. One student suffered a graze wound on the head during the shooting. As a part of this sentence, both defendants must also register as a gun offender following their release. Federal prosecutors also announced the sentencing of Kenneth Watts, a Maryland man convicted in a large-scale narcotic conspiracy. Watts received 60 months in federal prison for his role in distributing large quantities of PCP throughout Washington metropolitan area. The investigation uncovered a trafficking organization responsible for distributing PCP, fentanyl, and cocaine while using firearms to protect both narcotics and criminal proceedings. Authorities intercepted approximately 6 kilograms of PCP shipment from California throughout Maryland FedEx facility. Following a controlled delivery, investigators observed Watts retrieve the package before shipping the vehicle and recovering narcotics. Federal investigators also linked Watts to co-conspirators throughout cell phone communication and text messages. Several additional members of the conspiracy have already received lengthy prison sentencing, while another defendant remains awaiting trial. Federal courts also sentenced Robert D'Angelo Portes, a previously convicted felon, to 33 months in federal prison for illegally possessing a loaded firearm. According to prosecutors, Metropolitan Police officers stopped Portes during a December 2025 traffic stop after observing lane violations. Officers immediately notified a firearm equipment with an extended magazine inside the vehicle. Before officers could safely remove him from the truck, Portes allegedly sped away. Approximately 2 hours later, officers located him unconscious in the same vehicle. Police recovered a loaded Glock pistol equipped with 29 rounds extended magazine, along with additional high-capacity magazines, including 50-round drum magazine. Because Portes was legally prohibited from possessing a firearm due to prior felony convictions, he now returns to federal prison. Federal prosecutors also announced one of the largest cryptocurrency recovery efforts in recent district history. The U.S. Attorney's Office and the United States Secret Service revealed that the investigators have seized more than $25 million in cryptocurrencies connected to multiple international fraud investigations. Officials say the recoveries are a part of the Scam Center Strike Force launched in late 2025 to identify sophisticated cryptocurrency investment schemes targeting victims across North America. Investigators trace hundreds of millions of dollars throughout complex laundering networks involving fraudulent investment platforms, romance schemes, and fake cryptocurrency recovery services. 5 separate civil forfeiture actions will be filed in federal court seeking forfeitures of recovered digital assets. Authorities say thousands of victims worldwide have been identified, and investigators continue working to identify those responsible. Officials are encouraging anyone who believes they are being victimized by cryptocurrency investment fraud to immediately contact law enforcement. The cases highlighted tonight demonstrate the broad scope of criminal prosecutions now moving through the United States District Court and the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. From violent homicide cases and firearm offenses to child exploitation investigations, narcotic trafficking organizations, and sophisticated international cybercrime and fraud schemes, prosecutors and investigators continue pursuing cases that offense span multiple years and multiple jurisdictions. As always, Englebrook Independent News will continue following these investigations, monitoring future court proceedings, reporting sentencing outcomes, and providing fact-based coverage as these cases continue through the judicial system. Again, Englebrook Independent News reminds our viewers that criminal complaints and indictments contain allegations only. Every defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in the court of law. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, Senior Correspondent for Englebrook Independent News. Thank you for watching this edition of the Federal Crime Report. Have a good evening and stay safe. Good night.